It's popular YouTube, another day. Today we're going to do a news video so that we can go over some things that have happened recently, because normally I tie the news into the demo reviews, but the demo reviews are like 5 days apart, sometimes a week apart. I haven't been uploading much. While I've been on the road, I have been at a couple of events, whereas like the Rio Major, I said, you know, I was actually just hanging out. I was enjoying the fact that I was in Rio at my second major, spending a lot of time with people. The fall final it's so crazy. The fall final, the media day is crazy. The days we cast are nuts. There's a lot going on. So I didn't want to be too tired, and I focused on casting. Now I'm back for the December month. I have the world final coming up in Abu Dhabi next week with Blast. I'm going to be flying there this weekend. But before I leave, we are going to start Laos Top 20 of 2022. What is this, the third year or fourth year that we've done this now? I think it's year 3. I have nearly finalized my list of who I think is going to be top 20. The world final is going to take place, of course, and that could shift a couple of things around, mostly towards the front end of the list. But just wanted to announce that here and now, we're doing it again. It's coming. We're going to have a video every single day. I'm not exactly sure when the first video will come out, but it's going to be pretty hectic, and we're going to go over not who I think the HLTV list is going to be. It's going to be my list based on a combination of things. So the criteria, obviously stats are going to play a factor. The amount of achievements that the player's team has won sort of matters for me, but not that much. How good I think this player was. How good I think, as somebody who casted both majors this year, watched every single game live, watched so many demos this year, who's the almanac for me this year? Who's the INTERZ? Who's the perfecto? You know, I'm going to try to get in players or shift rankings based on who I just think, on my empirical analysis of watching the games, who I think was great, better than most thought, who is worse than most people thought. That's what's going to dictate my list first and foremost. I think every year that I finish this, the one regret I've had is not simply going off of who I felt like was better, as opposed to,
well, it's about because of this one star, or because of this one tournament winner, or this one MVP.
Okay, so I'm going to put in who I think was better. And then that way, you know, HLTV list is another list, and that'll be cool to compare them. I'm going to keep it traditional. I did float the idea of having the list be a list that was top 5 IGLs, top 5 support players, and then top 10 players, because between 10 and 20, it becomes a bit dubious as to who is truly number 15 in the world. You know, top 10 is a bit more solidified, easier to figure out, mostly star players, mostly the stats can tell you the answers. But I think a lot of people said, there were some very highly rated comments that said, we want to have this list be mirrored to HLTVs, even though it's not related in terms of trying to compete with it or predict it, just to have two to compare. So I'm going to keep it traditional for now, and I might do the top 5 IGLs and support player videos as well, but that's a lot of videos, so no promises there. I was hoping to fold it in, but I think I'm just going to do the standard list and then think about if I have more time to do the top 5 other ones. But either way, that's what's coming up. But for now, the longest intro in the world, for now, we're going to talk about some news. First things first. Config to stand in for Heroic at the Blast World Final. This is hot off the press, okay? Stown is going to be taking the rest of the year off, which is just this last event of the year. The Blast World Final is the final event of the year. Nothing after it. Nothing going on right now. And there are going to be a lot of really big teams here. Outsiders who won the Major get an invite. Navi who won the Spring Final. FaZe who won ESL Pro League. Vitality who won Season 16. G2 because of the Blast rankings. OG, same thing. Liquid, same thing. And Heroic, who won the Blast Fall Final, are all going to be here, okay? So this is a major event where that could shift the rankings individually and team-wise for a lot of these rosters. Stown will not be in attendance, who is, of course, Heroic's best player by a big margin. I think Yabby showed a lot of great stuff in that final, but across the year, no one's come close to Stown, whether it's his individual level, his versatility, his land. You guys know how I feel about Stown. So that sucks. We're going to see Config come in. Doesn't really fit in any meaningful sense. He's a stand-in. I think it'll be fun to watch. It'll be really fun to watch, actually. But I, don't think Heroic can win the event now. Straight up. They lose their best player. They've got to stand in. Even if Config plays out of his mind, it's not really going to just fit into the system. Surely not, right? Config obviously got into some things and got cut from Astralis and has to look for a new team. I think, wait, isn't he playing for Endpoint? Actually, I think he's playing for Endpoint now. Is he British now? He is British. He played against a Luminar and they lost 2-0. That's it for that. Config standing in. You let me know what you think, okay? You let me know what you think. ESIC has lifted Hunden's ban. ESIC announced Hunden is allowed to participate in ESIC member events on Friday, canceling his ban that was due to last until August 2023, moving his case from the register, as well as several mentions of the proceedings from their list of press releases. Hunden put in his bio after his whole thing went down, and it said, "The comeback is greater than the setback." It looked like a joke at first. It seems like it might be real. This is a very nuanced issue that has to do both with ESIC and Valve, because there are ESIC rulings and then there are Valve major rulings. So I think, for example, Geary got his penalty reduced by ESIC when he submitted more kind of evidence to show that the severity of his whatever wasn't as bad. But Valve did not accept anything from that point for ESIC. So if ESIC wanted to submit some further evidence to review, Valve were not accepting that. So the ban for Gary, of course, he wasn't able to be behind the team of the Rio Major. He's got this extensive ban that only applies to majors. Outside of that, he's not ESIC banned. And now the same thing is happening to Hunden, basically, who has been freed. The Hunden situation is big, pretty sticky, with a lot going on between him and Heroic. And I think that I would not like to sully that by trying to reduce it, but I would link the article and recommend you guys read it to get caught up. But this one's pretty touchy. I think Richard Lewis wrote an article saying that he was potentially working with Astralis as an analyst, like a shadowy analyst or something on the side. I don't know. I think he has shown, of course, his value in terms of his product. When it comes to the repercussions for his actions, that can be two different things. But if you have a good product, people, they're going to find a way to get you back. You know what I mean? They're going to find a way to use you, and such is life, I think. But I don't want to make any moral judgment as to exactly what happened here, because when this happened, I remember a lot of things, good and bad, and I don't remember exactly how I felt. So I don't want to jump to conclusions here, but people are pissed for sure. Okay, another big one. Didn't get to talk about this. Anubis gets added to the game, and the M4 A1s gets nerfed. At range, it kills less fast from a distance. You're sitting at ticket on Mirage. Dude swings a ramp at 1,000,000 miles per hour. You hit him. I think you hit him twice, and it's 99-2 now. You're not going to kill him as fast, so you can't melt people down as quickly. You're sitting in window to top mid, 5 bullets instead of 4. It is making a difference. It is making a difference. People didn't think this change was going to be big enough. It is making a difference, and people now have to decide, do I want to spend $3,100 on an M4 that was worse for so long, or do I want to spend $2,900 and potentially not get that kill that the A4 would have gotten? Oh, it sucks. Valve, just let us use both guns. Just let us use both guns, please. Cut the pizza pie by menu up into one more slice and put the M4 there, okay? Cut the M4 one into half, and then if we whiff, that's on us, right? Then we wouldn't have hit the shot when the round went live anyway. But give us a chance. Please, Valve. Anubis is a map that I was actually on the MapCore voting panel to rank the maps coming out of MapCore. I think it was in 2020. And Anubis was my #1 map. There were a few maps that were very good that I thought were nearly ready to be played in competitive. And of course, some people have had some exposure to Anubis. I played it extensively in 10-mans and stuff like that back then. And I think this map is great. It's a real easy fit, in my opinion. I spoke with the creator of Anubis on Twitter, and I just DM'd him. We had a bit of a dialogue before, and I wanted to clear some stuff up. Essentially, I asked him, did Valve buy your map? Because I always thought and purported that Valve did not want to work with community mappers since, you know, FMPone and Cash and all that. I thought because they wanted to have full control of it, and they didn't want to work with the map creator, who's not a Valve employee, to make changes to the maps. And as I suspected, they did. They approached Rolled, who made Anubis, and they bought it flat out, so they have exclusive control over it. He hopes that they will want to work with him on changes in the future, but I think because of the way that Valve I think it's just nice that they're actually willing to reach out to get a community map in the first place. If mappers aren't comfortable with giving away their baby and not having a chance to make changes, to make it better and develop it competitively, then, you know, maybe they don't want to make maps in the future, because I feel like this is the way that Valve will continue to do things. But I'm really happy that they're using community-made maps. People in the community are putting way more time into playtesting publicly, into finding balance changes, into making more maps overall, and are more than capable of making maps that are just as good as anything Valve can make at home. Okay, so I'm glad to see this. We live in a world where you're gonna make more money from making skins than making maps, and that is really sad, because making maps is way harder and creates way more value for Counter-Strike than skins do. But that is the world. That is the world we live in, and we got to thank the level designers for still throwing their hat into the ring and giving us something. So happy to see Anubis in. Hope to see more maps coming out of the community in the pool in the future. And yeah, shout out to Rolled for making a very polished map that, you know, has kind of broke that mold of it just becoming Valve only made maps, or just no maps at all, or Vertigo, which literally isn't finished. Okay, so Anubis is in. Like the M4 changes, 5 bullets now instead of 10. That's a massive change. It's the biggest change to the op since changing the peak on the movement speed. They added a update a long time ago that was they added a weight to weapons, so that, or they added, sorry, an acceleration amount that was tied to the weight of your weapon. So if you had a heavy gun, you peak slower. So it nerfed the op a lot because you couldn't swing out wide. This is the Kenny S nerf way back in 2014 or 2015. And that made a massive difference with what you could do with the op for sure. Now, with the op only being 5 bullets, if you get an ace, it's an instant graffiti. Imagine, you get an ace, the major with an op, 1 mag, no reloading. That's a graffiti, dude. That's going to be hard. Shiro's going to get the first one. I promise you. I like the change. I think ops are still going to be very strong. Ops can be a little bit too dominant now, where it can be unfun at all levels, especially lower levels, where people aren't throwing all the best utility and everything. And at the pro level, I think the op will still be a gun that you save for. It's still going to be really strong. You still have 5 bullets, and if you use them properly, they're still one-shot kills. So some people don't like this change. I love it on paper. We'll see how it plays out. Heroic win a tier 1 LAN. This is the last bit of news I have. Heroic win the Blast Fall Final. Incredibly done by Heroic. Incredibly done by Cadian as the leader of this team, who said a couple of years ago in that Mirage map or something they would have crumbled, and now they're a different roster. They proved it. They have survived the online period. They won a small end earlier this year. We don't have to talk about it anymore. They got 2nd place at Rio, and they won the Blast Fall Final in front of the Danish crowd who hated them last year. They beat fucking FaZe in the finals. They incorporated a player who had one of the most normal comeuppances of any roster move that I've seen in years, okay? Jabby joins the team. Jabby, I don't know. Joins the team and is bad and then gets better and better. Isn't that how all roster moves are supposed to go? What is with all the roster moves these last few years that have been insane honeymoon period, 1.40 rating in their first tournament, into starting to lose and then the team sucks and then they get cut? How come players aren't bad first and they get better? Well, it seems like they incorporated Jabby really well, and he had a lot to learn, couldn't get comfortable, had a bad cologne, started to pick up through Blast and through into the major. And look at him. He's not a liability, even in finals versus the best team in the world. You guys know I openly backed this Jabby move, even though Heroic, you know, could have arguably done better at Cologne. I thought that refresh was very good, but I still backed the Jabby move just because of how big of a talent he is. And I understood and I respected Heroic for taking a risk on trying to pick up the best and better pieces of the Copenhagen Flames lineup. That could have been a missed opportunity. It was probably for Astralis, right? I brought that up a lot. So I'm glad to see them winning. Glad to see Jabby lift a trophy here. Glad to see Stown get a trophy. He's going to be one of the best players this year. And happy for Cadian, who's recovered his storyline as a player like nobody else has in this game. Everyone remembers the shirtless backpack flashpoint video. If he can do it, you can do it. You know, that's the cool story about him. So Heroic now #1 ranked team in the world coming into the Blast World Final. Not expecting to win it because of Astound is taking some time off. He had a very rough year, and like personally, he had a very rough year and wants to take some extra time off. Full respect. He's done everything he needs to this year. They have lots to be proud of. They're coming off a tournament win, ends on a high. I'm sure they're going to give him, you know, the space and respect it. There's a rumor that Cloud9 are cutting INTERZ. I hate this. Look at my Twitter. I just can't stop talking about it. Cloud9 had one of the showed the most resilience they've ever shown on the lineup with this new lineup at the Rio Major, playing in front of a crowd in the Challenger stage and the Legend stage, performing more comebacks than any other team at the Major, having one of the hardest possible Legend stages runs, coming back 16-14 versus FaZe on Overpass, beating Na'Vi, getting into playoffs, having one of the easiest quarters on paper, and then losing, crumbling versus Mouse Sports, who are a very good lineup, but still, there was such a huge seeding mismatch. Cloud9 coming into playoffs were bookmaker favorite to win the Rio Major, and they couldn't even make it out of the quarters. That's all that matters. And what do we see right now? They're trying to make a roster move. But what do we see further than that? They're trying to scapegoat INTERZ. The person responsible for this roster move is the person that couldn't get them through that quarter versus Mouse, and it's as simple as that. Axel, Hobbit, and Shiro is the strongest core in the game right now. Individually, stats-wise, they are Simple and Electronic, where Simple and Electronic don't even really exist right now. Electronic's not going to be right beside Simple in the top 5 this year, you know? Axel and Shiro can be. That's it. They're on another level. And then there's Hobbit. And then there's Nafany, who can frag, but Nafany could frag well and still lose games as an IGL. I don't think anyone's easy to replace on this team. In fact, I don't think they should make a move at all. I think they should just try to get better. What happened to that? People just trying to get better. It doesn't seem like they want to do that. And I think scapegoating INTERZ just makes no sense to me. Yeah, he has bad stats, but I think he's a better player than Sanji was individually. I think he's just a good player when I watch him play. He has no good spots, gets the least amount of guns, throws the most flashes, plays small sites. I think there's a couple of spots, like he plays Cave on Ancient. I don't think he should be doing that, but they should just put him somewhere else. Either way, I think he's not the reason they lost. He's not the reason they lost that quarter, and that quarter is the reason they're making a roster move. That's all I got to say. All right. Hope you enjoyed that news roundup here as we prepare to get into the last top 20 of 2022. And I have a question for you. Who's the #3 player this year? Let me know in the comments below. Stay tuned. We got a lot of videos coming up. Thanks for watching.